Welcome to today's video. It's going to be another chatty style video where we're going to talk about writing goals and what that's going to look like for the rest of this year. Changing it up a bit today, sitting here in front of my bookshelves out in my loft, as you can see behind me, feeling like I needed a little bit of a change in scenery. So I've got myself some chamomile tea here. So get yourself something to drink, kick back, and let's have a chat. So I started this YouTube channel a few months ago. So obviously I haven't really talked to you guys about what my writing goals overall have been for the year 2025. Now that we're basically at the midway point though, I thought I would talk to you about what my goals were at the start of this year, how it's been going, and what my original goals were that I was starting on, and any additional new goals that I'd like to get done by the end of this year. For this, I'll strictly be just talking about what my writing goals are. I have other goals related to my author website, social media, and that kind of thing. But for now, I'll just talk with you guys about just the writing related ones. So I'll also put the status for each of my goals below somewhere on here for reference while we chat. So let's get started. Goal number 1. Complete copy edits and proofreading for the pen name project by March. This one I actually was able to get done by the hair of my skin of my teeth, just barely scraped by. I had a video previously where I talked about this mental breakdown that I had over editing a book for a video. Yeah, that one. Yeah, that was for the pen name project. I was super stressed because I want to get this book out sooner rather than later and really get the ball rolling. So yes, I did manage to get this book through the editing process, the editing pipeline, so to speak. So this goal is complete. Yay for me. Goal number 2, set the publish date for the pen name project. Obviously tied in with this last one, but this one's a bit more in limbo for a bit because there are still a few things that I need to get done in order to be able to set a release date for the book. Like obviously I can't set a date for something that still needs stuff done for. I am almost done with the interior formatting for the inside of the book. I'm using vellum to work on all of that, and I'm just trying to figure out what details that I want to add to it before I'm completely done with it. As of recording this video right now, I'm working with my cover designer to get the book cover done. It's a little bit complicated because it's going to require different types of formats, since my current plan is to publish the ebook of this on Amazon to take advantage of the Kindle Unlimited program, and to publish the paperback and the hardcover copies through Ingram Sparks. They're two different platforms with two different requirements for cover, so it'll probably just take a little bit to get everything squared away and complete for that. Then I can submit everything to the copyright office so I can get the copyright certification for the book going, at which time I will then be able to set an actual release date. So stay tuned for that announcement in the future. But again, as of recording this video right now, this goal is currently in motion. Goal number 3, finish the first draft of Project TF by April 17th. All right, the first goal on my list that I haven't accomplished yet. My original goal for this was to get the first draft done by April 17th, but obviously as of posting this, that didn't happen as I'm just shy of the 75% mark on this first draft. I was kind of upset about this at first when that date came and went, but I'm trying to have some grace with myself and remember that I'm still trying to figure out this whole authoring thing. I've written 2 books so far. Tosca took me on and off about 8 years to finish writing. And the pen name project took me about 2 years to finish after all of the different drafts that I went through, which was, again, like 4 or 5 at some point. I can't even remember. I started lightly working on Project TF at the start of January. So in comparison, I'm already doing better and making better time than the other 2 ones. But in my head, I was so focused on getting books out that I tried to overschedule myself to the point where I was basically doomed to fail with this goal. So as of now, technically I have failed to meet this original goal, but it's not a complete fail as I know I will finish this book and get it done, but it just obviously won't be at that date. So goal number 4, outline project DDD. This one I thought I'd hoped to, alongside writing the first draft of Project TF, I started trying to do this the first week or two that I really started focusing on writing, but I found that I was having a really hard time switching back and forth from one story to another too much. I think it's in part because I'm still new to trying to write one book after another, and partly because Project TF's outline was general. It wasn't like super detailed or anything like that. So while I was trying to make a much more detailed Project DDD outline, it was throwing me through a loop because it was two different things. You know what I mean? For now, I have Project DDD on the sidelines until I finish Project TF, and then I'll be able to give it the kind of attention that I think it needs and deserves. In the future, my hope is that I can juggle more than one of these at a time so that I can be outlining one book, writing the first draft of another, and editing another one at the same time, like all concurrently. But for now, I have to learn and just get through each stage one at a time until I can actually figure out how to accomplish that because, again, still new. Goal number 5, resume working on Project WICL. I actually started writing this draft, funnily enough, like I started writing Project Wickle before I started writing Project TF. I decided to put it on hold. Project Wickle is vastly different than the other 3 I've mentioned, that being Pen Name Project, Project TF, and Project DDD, because all of those are romances. Project Wickle, however, is my murder mystery that I'm going to be publishing under my Elizabeth C. Cabrera name, like I did with Tosca. I'm still really excited about this one, and this one is actually, I did have an outline for this, a much more intense outline, simply because of the nature of it. Like, you can't really have a good murder mystery if you don't have everything figured out ahead of time, right? Like, you have to have your ducks in a row. So I put this one on hold because I wanted to really get my romances under Leak Creek going so that I can have some books going under that name, since I already at least have one book published under the other one right now, which is Tosca. So at least I have that. My goal is that once I finish outlining Project DDD, I'll be able to actually finish writing the first draft of Project Wickle. Goal number 6, outline Project DDSNC. I think I've mentioned this in my previous video where I talk about the different books that I'm working on sometime a while back. I had this book that I had started. It was a NaNoWriMo project that I ended up abandoning because I wasn't thrilled with how it was going. I sat on it for a little while, and after writing a new short story, which I'll talk about here in a little while, after I finished writing that, it kind of it's like a spin-off basically of what I would want this book to be, as like a little short story, so it's like a little side thing to it. So I decided to rework the whole thing, and it's turned into a fantasy romance, or a romantasy, or however you want to put it, which also obviously means that I'm back to square one in terms of plot and that sort of thing. So I have some ideas on what I want to do with it, but this is one I put on the back burner until I get all of the previously mentioned goals in a better state before I even come near this one, because of how much detail and outlining it's going to need in order to progress. Goal number 7 is going to be write more short stories. So last year I wrote the first short story I've ever written and published in any capacity. It was a contemporary romance called Love Along the Blue Ridge, and it was for the WNC charity anthology that I participated in last November. One of the author discords I'm in decided that as NC locals ourselves, we wanted to help raise money in basically the only way we really knew how to. And it was an incredibly wonderful experience for me, and I loved it so much beyond the fact that obviously we were helping people out who really needed it. I really enjoyed the process of writing that short story, and it really sparked this interest in exploring that type of writing a bit more. I'd never really written anything like that, so I ended up writing 2 more short stories earlier this year for 2 separate contests that I entered. And while I didn't place for either of them because of how massive their numbers were, I was really happy with how the stories turned out for the most part. The first one was for the NYC Midnight Short Story Contest, where you go through a couple of different rounds, where each round you're given a prompt on what to write, a word count limit, and a deadline, basically. And each round, those aspects change and shorten. So the deadline shortens, the word count gets smaller. I didn't make it past the first round, unfortunately, which, yes, I was a little sad about. But I was competing with thousands of other incredibly talented writers, and based off of the feedback that I got for that story, the judges really liked my story, but there was just like a couple of issues that they had with a few key elements that they had with it that kept it from being pushed forward. So the story is actually, I'm actually reworking the story a little bit based off of that feedback, and I'll actually be publishing it in my author newsletter closer to October to make use of the spooky and creepy vibes from the prompt that I was given for it. So if you're interested in that, plug, but you should definitely check out my author Substack, which is linked down in the description. As I mentioned, with the other goal, that I brought Project DDSNC back to life because of another short story that I wrote. And I loved that so much with the changes that I made to make this short story come to life. So much so that I ended up deciding to make it a prize for the referrals for my Substack sign. Also, if a lot of Substack stuff, yes, I know, but while I loved both of these stories, I'm not confident enough in them to try and submit them for a literary magazine or anything like that. So I wanted you guys to be able to read them and enjoy them until I can kind of wrap my head around writing short stories more often. But I do want to explore that more often. So all of this is to say that my goal to write more short stories this year has been done to a capacity. But I think I want to explore it even more in the coming months this year. And if not, I'm definitely looking to bump this up to my 2026 goal list, so to speak. So with all of that said and done, I'm going to put this on screen somewhere, but here are the current goals in order, regardless of basically the timeline that I would like them to do. So finish the first draft of Project TF, set the published date for the pen name project, outline Project DDD, finish the first draft of Project WICL or WICL, finish the first draft of Project DDD, start the outline for Project DDSNC, start editing Project TF, and then eventually start editing Project WICL or WICL. Going forward for the rest of this year, I'd at least like to get to the point where I'm working on finishing the first draft of Project WICL on the list. This isn't factored into basically any of the other things going on in my life right now, so this is highly likely to change to some capacity. But I've finally sort of gotten into this groove of how I'd like to tackle things going forward. So by the end of this year, I'd like to see what I get up to before we head into 2026. So I think closer to December of this year, I'll definitely do a follow-up to all of this and update you guys on where I'm at with all of these, as well as what I want to do for my 2026 goals, because I actually kind of like having this look back. That's all I have for you guys for now. Let me know in the comments what writing goals you guys have had for this year, how you've been working on them so far, and what goals you have left to work on towards for the rest of the year. So let me know that down in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.